everyone. Welcome to Author Nation Interviews, your go-to podcast for elevating your author journey. I am your host, Melody Ann, and I'm thrilled that you are joining us today because in this episode, we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome and getting reviews. As part of the vibrant Author Nation community, you gain access to a wealth of resources. Check them out at authornation.online. It's scrolling past you right now. You can find anything from writing expertise to savvy marketing strategies. Are you ready? Let's grab a drink, curl up. Don't curl up if you're driving. Here we go. So today I am interviewing Jen Hardy, and she is an author, a podcast host, a speaker, and community builder. She hosts the fabulous Over 50 podcast. She has also written a book and 3 journals that focus on empowering women, spreading positivity, and helping people set and meet their goals. Her book offers practical advice and real-life experiences that help women over 50 navigate various challenges and achieve their goals. Hi, Jen. How are you today?
Hey, I am so amazing. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous. I'm absolutely fabulous. Where I am currently, the sunshine has finally come out.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
that
Here in
makes
Florida, we are
yeah.
chilly. So there you
Oh,
go.
wow. Okay, we've switched.
Yeah. Although my idea of chilly and yours, maybe.
Very different. I'm aware. All right. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey into writing and how you transitioned into becoming an author, a podcast host, and a speaker?
So I've always enjoyed writing, and I've written first chapters of more books than I can count. But I never, this gets back into that imposter syndrome that we'll talk about a little bit later, because I would start and then think, nobody's going to read that. Right. And so I'd move on and I'd give it to my kids, and my kids would say, oh my gosh, we want to know what comes next. And I'd say, no. But then I got really sick, and my podcast and everything I did used to be for moms with chronic illness because I had 7 kids. I was in bed. I was in a wheelchair, couldn't go anywhere on my own, kept getting hospitalized for weeks at a time, and it was a nightmare. And I was trying to figure out, how can I be a mom, right? I was a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. How can I go from doing that and taking care of 7 kids to doing all that from bed? It's almost impossible. And so I kept looking and I couldn't find the answers. And so my husband said, after about a year, he said, if they're not there, it's your job to create them. And so I ended up writing the book, and I had so many ideas. I just wrote it all in 8 days. The editing took 3 months because, if you write something in 8 days, it's not the greatest. But I think it brought me out of that imposter thing from that who am I to I've got this, right? I've got this locked down and I know I've got the answer. And it really motivated me to help other moms, because
Yeah.
I knew that there were so many other moms struggling, and I knew that I could help them.
Yeah. Moms who are not confined to bed in a wheelchair are struggling. So, I can just imagine, well, I can't imagine actually the added, the added obstacles. It just sounds crazy. Now, but you've gone on and you've created many journals, and one of them is the 5-year plan for success in business journal. Can you tell us a little bit about that one? That one piqued my interest.
I can. I'm actually I have it right here. So one of the things a few years ago, when the tragedies of 2020 happened, I had a 5-year journal, and it was, your standard small 5-year journal. And I was writing in it. And then 2021 came around, and there was no room for me to write because it would only had a sentence a day, but there were so many things happening that year. So I started writing, in the columns and up around the top. And I thought, why doesn't anyone write a 5-year journal that is standard paper size so you could actually write every day like you would in a regular journal? Well, I discovered why when I published mine, because it's 2.5 pounds. It's like a college textbook, but you're not going to lose this one on your nightstand. So that's the thing. And also, I'm a serial company creator. I just love starting businesses and doing that sort of thing. And something I've realized is a lot of people that start small businesses, the percentage that fail is large, but I think a lot of it is because they don't plan. They think, I've got this great idea. I'm going to pour a bunch of money into it. Mine, other people's, take a loan, do whatever. And then they don't have a long-term plan. So they fail. And so with this 5-year journal, it sets you up for success because you're making your plan as you go. And then after your first year, you come around and there's a goal at the beginning of every month, which is what makes it a little different. You can see, did I meet that goal? Did I not meet it? Did what did I do? Because that's the thing. We're normally as business owners not taking 5 minutes a day to write down what we did that day. And it kind of forces you to do that. And then you see the cycle of the year and when things sell and how you're doing. And it just really helps solidify your plan so that you can be successful.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Something I do is I write daily, I write my wins, whatever I achieved that day, whatever my win was. And then weekly, I pull out the top 3 to 5. And then monthly, I pull out the big ones. And so I kind of, I get, and then yearly, I go to the monthly and I pull out the big ones. And it just helps me remember that I actually got something done because if not,
Exactly.
right? You're thinking, did I get anything done today? Have I achieved anything this year? Right?
Yeah,
I know how that
yeah,
feels.
sometimes our brains only remember oh, this bad thing happened or whatever. No, there's so many great things happening every day. We need to remember what
Exactly.
they are.
Exactly. So your books and your journals aim to help women navigate challenges and achieve their goals. So can you just kind of, beyond the journaling, can you talk about goals and share some practical advice from your own experiences that maybe authors can implement in their careers?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I think with authors, one of the first things is to write every day. Whether you feel like you're led to write, whether you feel like you have the words, just sit down with that paper and pencil.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, I know something that I do because I work with other authors sometimes as well, is we do a lot of brain dumps where you just get a piece of paper and a pencil and set a timer for 5 minutes
Yeah.
and just get it all out. And then you can always go from there. You will have ideas to write from there. That's actually how I wrote my first book, was by starting that way. And so I think that's number one. And have some kind of a schedule. Even, people, when you work from home, sometimes it's hard. You just kind of go with the flow. And then it's 7 o'clock at night and you haven't had dinner and you don't know what you did with your day, even if you were busy. And so having some sort of block schedule where you know what you're doing so that you get everything done is important because a lot of writers are creatives and we tend to not do that sort of thing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So show up every day. And I find that even whether it's writing or, going out and getting exercise, sometimes I don't want to do something and I'll say to myself, just 5 minutes. It's all it needs, just 5 minutes. And once you get going, it's so much easier
Oh, yeah.
than the starting, right? And so I like what you said about just showing up every day and just doing something, right? Something every day. I think that's really important. Let's talk about imposter syndrome because you alluded to that earlier, and it's a really common challenge for many writers. In fact, sometimes I see writers procrastinating or working on perfection or all these other things, which are sometimes symptoms of an underlying imposter syndrome or fear around being good enough, right? And so how did you deal with your imposter syndrome? And so for the two-part question, how did you deal with your imposter syndrome? And from that, what strategies would you recommend to authors struggling with it?
I think, so for if people don't know what imposter syndrome is, because I've talked to several people who don't, it's feeling like if say you've written your book and then you think, "Oh, but I can't publish this because everybody else who's published a book is better. They know more. They're higher up in whatever it is that than you are." There's so many other things that you can feel like other people are better than you at. And so to conquer that, you just need to, instead of putting them down, because that's some people's go-to, but that's not the healthy answer. What you want to do is you want to find the things that you are good at. Find those your strengths and focus on those. And if you have to put them on a post-it note and put them in front of you, or put them in the beginning of your journal and read it every day, or do something to remind yourself that you
Yeah,
are worth having people hear you. You are worth having your story told because everyone is worth having their story told. And even if someone's had more experience in publishing or whatever than you, they don't have your story. They don't have the book that's in you to write. And if you have that book in you, there is a reason and it deserves to get published. And so I
yeah,
think just reminding yourself of those things, reminding yourself of your successes and putting yourself in places to be successful, and that's the hard
Mhm.
part. So, if you're uncomfortable and you feel join a writers group. Join a writers group and you can, sit around the table and share, and when people give you positive feedback, that also helps, that external thing. And surrounding yourself with people that do give you positive feedback. And if you have people in your life saying, "You're never gonna write that book. No one's ever gonna buy it." Number 1, don't talk to them about the book. And don't set yourself up for that. I think that's another big one because there's a lot of people that don't understand writing, and they think you can only get published if you're John Grisham or whatever, and that don't even bother trying. And so just wait to share your book with them until it's published and you can hand them a copy.
Yeah, exactly. Really great advice. I want to go back just a minute. You were talking about imposter syndrome, and you were saying that some people say, "Oh, somebody else has published a book, therefore I shouldn't." I had a client come to me and said, "Oh, I found a book very similar to mine. Oh no!" And I said, "That's wonderful because now you know that people want that type of book." One. Two, read through the book and find what you think that author did really, really well and learn from that. Find what you think the author could improve on and improve on it in your book. It's not about they're better or worse, they're just different. And so I just wanted to say that, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, it's not that you're better or you're worse, you're different. And different is what you just talked about everyone uh, being deserving to share their story and having a story that's theirs and unique and worth sharing. So I just wanted to add that in. Because you dealt with chronic illness, I wanted to just touch on that a little bit because your chronic illness and mental health issues or struggles, those are touched on in your work and in your book, but these are really sensitive topics. A lot of people don't want to speak out loud about these things. So how do you hope your books help readers face these challenges?
So, number 1, I think it's really sad that we can't talk about it out loud and that people are embarrassed to talk about it out loud, which is why that was my focus for 8 years, to try to bring knowledge. And, it was really amazing when I stopped when I changed my podcast from talking about being sick to Fabulous Over 50. I actually had people come and say, "Thank you so much. I didn't wanna listen to that when you talked about it." And I thought, but that's why it needs to be out there, because you
Yeah.
need to understand, and people don't understand. And so I think we definitely need more voices in that space. Um, and I forgot what your question was because
I
I got
just want
on my soapbox, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, it's great. So because they are sensitive topics, I was wondering about the impact of your books and how you want your books to help readers face their challenges.
So the first book I wrote is The Sick Mom's Guide to Having Fun Again, because I think that guilt takes over. We have mom guilt anyway, but when you're stuck in bed and your kids are like, "Take me to the park, take me on a hike," the other mommies are going on a hike, and you have to say no all the time, it makes you feel really bad about yourself, about your parent, everything. And so for my book, I put 100 things you can do with your kids, 50 of them if you can't get out of bed or off the couch. And so my hope was to let the moms know they're not alone. They all feel alone. They all feel like they're the only one, and they're not. And to let the kids know that they're not alone either, because the kids think every other parent can do what you can't do. And also to offer hope with what you can do. So every chapter is how to make your life more fun. One of them is going to the doctor, how to make that better. One is with your spouse, and one chapter is about with your friends and how to communicate what you can do and let them know so that your friendship goes better, because some people do have a really hard time understanding. And with the journal, I realized when I was in my 50s that there were so many things I had wanted to do, but I always thought since I didn't have that much energy, I'd never get them done, so I didn't start. And
Mm,
so in my 5-year journal for moms with chronic illness, I break down the things that they might wanna do into simple bite-sized pieces in my monthly prompts. And so when you're done with 5 years of that journal, you have your whole house put together, all of your paperwork put together, and you've done it in a way that you can do it, because it took me 30 years to get those things done, and if I had realized I could break it up, it would have been done long before that. So it's about hope. I think that's the basic idea. is what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Can you dig into that just a little bit? So, if I understand, you have a 5-year journal, and each day is a prompt, and the prompt doesn't tell you what to do, but it asks you a question about what you could do. Could you just dig into that a little
So
bit? I just want to make
each
sure I
month
understand.
yeah, it's okay. Each month is a prompt. So each month has something to do. Like this month, you're going to collect all of your medical paperwork because if you have been not well, you've got paperwork everywhere. And then you go to the doctor and they say, well, where did you get diagnosed with it? I don't know. I have no idea. So getting that paperwork together is a big deal. So 1 month, that's the prompt. So every day, you can just spend a little time a day getting that together. And then you've got it in one spot. And we don't even try to go through it and organize. That's not the prompt. People can take it where they want, right? And so by the end of that month, you've got all those things together. And then at the end of the year, there's a prompt. Okay, now you're going to sit down with your children and you're going to make a plan for next year. What are the kind of things they want to do? How can you accommodate that to be things you can do? And so before the next year comes, you've got this plan of what you can be doing. And you have a whole month to figure it out. So if you're having good days or bad days or whatever,
Yeah,
you don't have to feel I just they're under enough pressure. They don't need a lot of more, I didn't make it today, and it's okay. And some months you might not like the prompt and you can just write whatever you want.
right. And so, you could have one day where you said, had a migraine, did nothing.
Right.
And then the next day, feeling great, got this accomplished. And then the next day, something else. But by the end of the month, the idea is that you have done as much of that task as possible and you've recorded what you've done each day.
Exactly. And then when you come back the next year, what if you notice that every March and April you talk about having headaches? And then you
Mm,
think, wait a minute, maybe this is a pattern. Or you can write down what you got for your children for their birthdays or for Christmas or what, because we don't remember those things. And then next year when it's birthday time, you can say, okay, I forgot I got them that. I was planning on doing it this year. So I'm not, whatever. Or that's something that they asked for last year that they didn't get. So it just gives you that running memory that you might not have when you're knee deep in the middle of 10,000 things.
yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about reviews before we wrap up, because reviews are invaluable for authors, but finding honest reviews and finding constructive criticism, this can be really challenging. So, could you share your strategies for identifying and connecting with reviewers who offer you genuine feedback that actually helps you improve your work?
I can, and I'm not the best at that. But now I know what to do when I release a book, but I didn't before. So with my first book, I did have a launch team and that was amazing. They all got a free copy, but now Amazon says, they got a free copy. And so how legitimate does that seem to everybody? But it did help to have my launch team and then in the beginning have those reviews. That was really nice. And I think just sharing the word and letting people know that you need a review. There's some friends of mine that wanted books and I gave them discounts and I said, hey, can you, go pick up the book, see what you think if you really like it, because it takes some time, it takes some time to do it and just ask your readers. If this was valuable to you, please let me know. If it wasn't valuable or you didn't like things, here's my email address. Can you share those things with me so I can change it? Um, and an email address, it's not your regular email address because obviously you don't want that everywhere. But just so that they know that they can come to you and you can make changes and you're willing to do that, I think it's really important. And a lot of readers will support you. It's just getting out there and getting the marketing and all that, which is where you come in, which is why
Yeah,
you are so helpful.
the fear of asking, right?
The fear of asking. Yeah, it kinda goes back to that imposter because what if they say something bad, right? What if they didn't like it? But I think we just need to go in for the ask, and when I've done that, it's been very positive. In fact, I've had a hard time getting people to give me some negatives, and sometimes you want to know, what didn't work? I wanna know what didn't work. Um, but
Yeah.
but those positive reviews do feel so good, don't they?
Yeah,
They're stormy.
absolutely. And but those negative reviews feel so terrible, right? So it's, if you get one, it really stops you from asking, because it's like that whole imposter syndrome comes back up. What might you suggest for authors who've had a negative review and now don't want to ask because they think everyone will hate them?
Oh,
Talking
I've
about
got a great
anxiety.
answer for that, actually. So, when I got some really bad feedback, very, very negative feedback, and somebody said, "You are not officially out there until you have a hater. You have to have a hater." And that means, I used to ride horses, and they used to say, "You're not really good unless you've fallen off 7 times." That's what they used to tell us. And it got us to say, "It's okay that I fell." Right? It's okay that I fell, 'cause now I get back on. "Oh, I've already fallen 6 times. I'm almost there." Like, it was almost a badge of honor. And I think it's the same thing. So, if you've got a hater, you got somebody that hates you, you're in, you're official, and now you can claim that and keep going.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
go ahead.
no, and because you can't write something that everyone's going to love, you're just not going to.
Yes,
In
yeah.
fact, a game that my daughter and her husband play when they're having a bad day is they read the reviews on Amazon of children's board books, because some people are really scathing in there, and if people can be scathing in children's board books, if you've got anything meaningful to say, you're gonna have that one person, and just take it as a badge of honor.
Yes, yes. When you're talking about this, it just kind of reminds me of Taylor Swift, who right now probably has so many haters, and yet, if she didn't have all those haters, she wouldn't have 10 times as many people loving her. So just, it reminds me of that right now. So because it's, that's been the talk recently. So
Right.
excellent. So where can people get hold of you?
So at jenhardy.net,
Hmm.
everything is there. The podcast, the books, everything. It makes it one easy place to go to.
Brilliant. And for social media, can they reach out on Instagram?
I am at the Jen Hardy everywhere. Can't miss
Perfect.
it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. It's been great.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us today on Author Nation Interviews. I hope you found this enlightening and also encouraging. Don't forget to visit authornation.online to start your journey to success as a nonfiction author. And we value your feedback and support talking about reviews. So if you enjoyed this episode or not, please take a moment to leave a comment and a review and share it with others who may find it valuable. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you insightful content and serve the nonfiction author community. Keep writing, keep creating, and keep sharing your stories with the world.